I'm good to go.
T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
What do you got to eat? Here, guys. Ooh. What's this say? I don't know. What's that say? I know, but I'm not gonna tap. I think it says it's good.
Conjecture Hoops contains all the presumptions, assumptions, and off-the-wall postulations a growing kid needs. Conjecture Hoops, a big bowl of bullshit. Saturday morning cartoons, mostly conjecture based on little knowledge.
Please welcome Max Headshrew, Dell, Aria Blackness, and your most gracious host, Ben Motherfucking Jackson. Applause. Applause. Applause.
Well, to the gods of Saturday morning.
Welcome to Saturday
Hello.
Morning Cartoons, everybody. Your host, Ben Motherfucking. With me, as always, is Garth, Aria Blackness, and the owner, the creator, the boss, the legend himself, Max Headshroom, who's not even a human being. He's actually a really advanced 3D rendered artificial intelligence. So we're really, really excited about that. And Nick Unlisted is on the show.
He's the sexy one.
He's the sexy one. See, they told us that we needed a girl on the show, to get attention from noobs and weebs and incels. And I was like, you know what? All these noobs and dweebs and incels, they're all closet homosexuals anyway. So I'm going to go in a totally different direction with this show. I'm going to get this handsome motherfucker and this handsome motherfucker, and that's how we're going to get all the incels to watch the show. And it fucking works. It works. And I haven't even mentioned, we're very excited. We got Elliot Rodriguez on the show today. If y'all
What's going on, everybody?
If y'all are in CG, you probably know who Elliot Rodriguez is. Nigma85 on everything, on Twitter, on Instagram, on everything. You've seen his art. You like it. You love it. And today, what you gonna do for us today, Elliot? Are you really gonna reveal your original character live on our show?
Yeah, definitely.
So
Today
cool.
what I have for first of all, I want to say hi, hail CG, hail everybody in the chat. How you guys doing? Thank you, Ben, Max, Nick, and Babyface for for having me on the show. It's an honor to be here. And today I'm going to show off my main character for the comic that I'm going to work on for my own IP. And I'm really excited and nervous, and then I hope I don't mess this up, and I hope you guys like it, and all that good stuff. Man, D-Wag, what's up, man?
What up?
Oh, what's up, D-Wag? There we go.
Chilling, baby. Let's get it cracking.
You got the
My sound all right?
Fireworks going on in the background. What is that noise, man?
That's just the mean streets of Indiana, dude. Indianapolis.
That's not me, is it?
No, it's
Not me.
Hold on.
I was gonna say, okay. I thought that was gunshots, man. I'd have to duck and shit.
Who's got the construction site right outside their window?
No, I'm how do I do the
Is that you, Nicholas?
It is because I'm in a car shop right now. I'm gonna back out of the maintenance bay. So you guys
All right.
continue on. I'll be with you shortly.
Turn your microphone off while you do that. That's amazing. So, Elliot, before you reveal your character and tell us what the book is about that you're working on, tell us what you've done so far.
I've been working on this, I guess you can say, for years now. I had this idea a long time ago. It's a fantasy comic a coming of age story of a story of this character that I'm going to show off, and his journey as he becomes the hero that we'll see at the end of the story, hopefully. And the best way I can put it to everybody is like, think of it as like Luke's journey from Star Wars. Now you see him as he has one image at the beginning of the saga, and then he's the Jedi Knight at the end. So it's like a similar journey that he goes on. And yeah, it's set in the fantasy world, and it's not based on Earth. I mean, this is a completely different planet, and just a bunch of things that I've been thinking about. And yeah, it's in this world, anything is possible. Like you can see fantasy dragons and everything that goes with that, and you can also see, like, for example, superheroes and robots. And I'm going to throw in there a little bit of everything and see if it works. See if it works. And yeah, and what I have today for you guys is the main character here.
That's the stuff that you're good at drawing, dude. Superheroes and robots and stuff. I love your style, man.
Thank you.
It's just like clean superhero goodness, you know. It's
thank
the best
you
way
very
I
much.
could describe your art style. It's what you want to see in a comic book, in my opinion.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm trying my best to like get better. One of my biggest fears at the beginning of everything was, would I be able to like execute a competent book, like to where like images look decent enough that you could see in an indie comic. And I've been working on that. I've been working on figures, figure drawings, perspective. Perspective is everything, and trying to get better with inks and yeah, but line weights, proportions, and all that stuff that goes with it. So the last 2 years or so, I've been trying my best to improve. I think I'm at the point where I can, like, at least to myself, put out a decent, competent book where you can see it and then it makes sense, and then you can follow the story. And yes, and I know I still have a lot more to learn about sequentials, but I mean, I'm assuming that's going to get better as I draw more pages.
I was going to say, my man, like the best way to improve is just to start the project. Like,
exactly.
It's like people that say, I don't want to go to the gym until I'm in shape. You just got to start going to the gym, man. Like, and it from page 1 to page 20, you'll go up like levels, man. And then when you're on issue 3 and you look back at issue 1, you'll be like, how could I have not been able to do the things that I do now? Because the progression's because you're watching it all the time. It's like watching someone grow. You don't notice it until you look back on a photo. Like your artwork will just totally change over the years. It's really important that you enjoy the journey and not get too bogged down and consistent in disappointment of what you expect the improvement to be, because that'll actually end up holding you back. Like, take criticism, but still enjoy the work. I say that, but then I'm always like ultra critical of my work. Like, even now, it's just
I think every artist is, aren't they, of their own work?
Yeah. I think it's a sign of a good artist to be critical of your own work. I think it's a sign that you're consistently evolving. So yeah, I feel you, man. But like, I've seen your work and you work great. It's definitely good enough to be.
It definitely is
in a comic. Yeah, you'll hit bumps in the road with certain panels where you'll struggle, and you'll feel like you've never had to manifest images like this before, but you'll get over it, and then that'll be a new skill that you've learned. Like, it's a good, it's a satisfying process.
And Max is right as well when he says that the best way to get better at it is to do it. That's true. That's true for art, but that's also true for promoting your book and talking about it. So you just have to start. You know.
That's true. Yeah.
So there's 2 ways we could do this. Like, we could do the reveal right now, or we could talk a little bit about Final Fantasy first and how that's influenced. Because I know that was a big influence for you on your story.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
it was
Final Fantasy was a big influence in everything that I'm doing. But yeah, I'll show off some artwork that I've done before, and then I'll show off characters that I've sketched so you can get an idea of what the visuals and what kind of style I'm going to go with in the comic, and then I'll do the reveal of the character at the end. Just give
All right,
me
go
a
ahead and
second.
share your screen. I think that's a great idea because then we get a little bit of a feel, a little bit of a flavor for Elliot's
Exactly, yeah.
style and where he's coming from.
Let me see.
Nick, if you've seen Elliot's work, you're gonna love it.
I haven't.
Right up your alley, I think. Not as many naked
Can you?
women, but
Can you guys see this?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's cool. Man.
Yeah, this is this is a character that I created. It's like an angel type character you get with the 3 wings and something very fantasy like. I did this a long time ago, but here's just something to give you an idea. And here's another character. I did this 2 years ago, and here, for example, this is like a dragon monster type thing, also mixed with a little bit of robot tech and stuff.
Yeah, I can see the Final Fantasy influences straight away. Yeah,
that character's like Devilman meets like a Mega Man villain.
Yeah.
And this character's name is Saigon, like Cygon. And I did this a while back. And then let's see if I have another.
So I don't see a lot of live chats, by the way. I know there's people viewing. Go ahead and I know we had trouble last week with that, but I'm almost positive that it's working. So
here's
what's up in the chat.
Oh, that's a cool one.
Whoa, here's an old drawing. Yeah, here's an old drawing from 2019, and you can here, for example, I use this as like a way to compare what I used to do before, like especially with buildings in the back, and like for example, the anatomy in this part here, I think isn't as good as I could make it. And so yeah, this is a character. His name is Deathmonger, and I'm going to redesign him also, and then have him part of the story. I don't know where yet, but he'll be in there also.
I like that
I'm going to do a pinup.
A lot.
Yeah. Thank you, and yes, and it's supposed to like he's one of the bad guys in the story, and I'll have to redesign him also, and hopefully in the next couple of months we'll see a new pinup of this guy. Here's another character that I did a long time ago. This is like a completely cybernetic type fit character, and it's more like an action pose type thing. And
sweet, man.
Well, Deathmonger's my favorite.
Thank you.
So far.
I like this guy.
Hey, here's a picture of a world map that I did years ago, and this is the first time I'm showing this off. And our story is going to start here, this city here, Daflon. That's where my character's from, and then the story is going to, work its way up across all this, and these are just some of the names and countries and things that I've created in my mind that I'll be able to flesh out soon, hopefully, and just to see some of the behind the scenes work that I've done on the story.
Oh,
here's
cool.
Here's another character. This guy's name is Necro Knox, and he's a sorcerer. He's another bad guy. I want to put him in there also, and I did this 2 years ago, I think, and I was able to do some Kirby Crackle with this guy, which is always fun.
Yeah, I can see the improvement over the years. Like your line work's got more intricate for sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Really well.
Thank you very much.
That's the thing that's so cool about CG right now, because there's all these artists that have been growing and brewing and getting better and getting ready. And like what I feel that you have in common with us, Elliot, is that you weren't 14 years old out here biting off more than you could chew, getting discouraged. You took your time. You created look at all these characters. I mean, these are phenomenal characters. Like Max said, you can clearly see the line work getting better. Anyone that follows you on Instagram sees your work is getting better. And at the time, right now, it's good enough, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And also,
thank you very much.
You've created those worlds. You've created these characters. You obviously have a master plan in mind. And that's the same thing we did. Like, we were lurking in the shadows for a long time before we went public, before we launched Rokon, getting the characters right, getting the story right, getting the art style right. And I really appreciate that you're doing the same thing, because I hate to see half-baked ideas sent out there before they're ready. And you know, there's a balance, because on the one hand, if you always wait and never start creating and never start promoting, then you never do it. But at the same time, it does take a lot of preparation. So I, as a fellow creative, I appreciate the evolution that you've done, and you know, putting the time in, metaphorically going to lifting your weights and doing all the exercise that you need to do before it's showtime.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, it's the same thing. This is I'm planning for this book to be my magnum opus, like my life's work, and so I don't want to like half-ass this. I want to make sure that I do it right. I don't want to like also write myself into plot holes, and so I want to make sure that the story I have is consistent all the way through. Like the number one thing I'm working on, I've been working on recently, was the art style, making sure that I get better, or at least to a point where I'm happy with it. Right now, I'm happy with what I'm doing, and I think I'll be okay moving forward with the story.
I think so too. I feel like we got a really good feel for your style, your influences, what you're trying to do here. You know.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's a combination sci-fi, fantasy, and superhero joint, which we definitely appreciate. Nick's character, the Immortal Asadi, is got like a historical mix with superhero. My character, Rokon, it's like the fantasy over the top, mega violent mix with superhero. Arya's got the anthropomorphic.
The sexy Titan spandex.
Exactly. So we're all doing our thing here. So are you ready to show us?
Yeah, exactly. Before this right here, this image that you see right here, this is my main character. Well, this is like a preliminary drawing that I did 2 years ago, just to get an idea of what I might make him look like, and this is what he looked like a few years ago. But this is not the final design. I've tweaked this, and what I'm going to show you now is the character that I have. See if I can find this. Yeah. Here is and this is the main character. This is the artwork that I did now.
Woo woo!
Nice. That's sick.
Sweet, mate.
Okay, I definitely see the Final Fantasy influence here.
Yeah.
The character's name is Zadok. Zadok. This is this character's name, and he's the main character for the comic. And this is pretty much what I'm aiming to do with this story, and here you can get an idea of how he looks like.
He looks wicked, mate.
Thank you very much. I did the colors, the line work, the pencils, everything on this piece, and I'm going to put out pieces like this with some of the other characters that I mentioned, including Deathmonger. I'm going to do something like this also with him.
Deathmonger is my favorite. I would love a pin.
Yeah.
Pin up of Deathmonger.
I'm into Deathmonger, mate. I like Deathmonger so much that I'm up for drawing Deathmonger. To be fair,
I was going to say that. I think Max would kill that, because the mask Deathmonger is wearing, that's super up Max's alley. That's the kind of masks and armor that Max likes to design for our characters.
Nice. That's
so
awesome.
Tell us about Zadok. Is this a Cloud Strife rip off or what? Obviously there's an influence there, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Link from Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, he's a nobody. Like he's not someone special in the story. He's not someone special in the kingdom. He's not like someone who in the past his ancestors had this magical gift. No, he's a nobody. He's an 18-year-old kid. He's a nobody, and he's going he's gonna go for like he's running. The story starts off with him running an errand. He's gonna run an errand, and what happens on his way there is going to like open up into something bigger. The sword that you see here is a family heirloom. This belongs to his father, and his father gave him this sword as he's running this errand, going to do what he has to do in the story. And the symbol that you see here is like a family crest that has been in his family for generations. but yeah, he's not someone with special gifts. It's just like a nobody he's a farmer, and
But
so
it sounds like the story's more driven by the sword than by like his being the chosen one or some kind of cliche like that, which I can definitely relate to.
Yeah, the sword has importance to the story, but like for example, something that I'm taking from Final Fantasy is like the beginning of Final Fantasy is just this mission that Cloud is on with these group of rebels to blow up this reactor, and then one thing leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, and then before you know it, he's fighting this dangerous villain that's about to destroy the world, and so it goes from like a very small story to something incredibly big, and that's the idea that I have for this also. Like it's just like a common person that's gets tangled up in events that push him to take decisions and to do things that he thinks that he's not prepared to do, and
So I can feel the Final Fantasy vibe right away. That basically there's something wrong in the world, and me and my sword and my friends, we're gonna fix it. And along the way, we're gonna develop the skills that we need and get the knowledge that we need, and we're gonna solve that problem. I'll tell you what, I wish we could do that. I wish we could just gather a crew of powerful allies and fix all the problems. Go to Kiev, sort shit out.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's almost like there's this organization called
North Korea
NATO that's supposed to do that.
Yeah.
See, that's
exactly
the problem. I think, like for me, Final Fantasy represents like a rebellion against the inevitable corruption of these large organizations. You know what I mean? You've got NATO, you've got the United States Army, all these things, and then as you grow up, you start to understand that you can't really rely on these systems. You can't really rely on the people in charge. And I think
trust anybody.
That's where the escapism comes in with a story like Final Fantasy. Any of them, they all have this in common. It's just like somebody that with really sincere intentions and a pure heart just takes it upon themselves to do what they can and thereby change the world. And I think that's something that really resonates with video game players and comic book readers.
Man, I just thought the swords looked cool.
Yeah, the fucking sword's the bomb.
Yeah.
It needs to be bigger. It needs to be 3 times the size of the dude that's carrying it.
And he needs to be able to swing it around like it weighs nothing.
Yeah. Spin it on his finger like a little teaspoon.
But I mean, like the group of dudes going to blow a reactor, and then it ends up being fighting a big old dude. I mean, that's fucking Final Fantasy VII right there, baby.
Yeah.
I do have a fascination with the aesthetic of a giant sword. Like I need to find the right time, but I want to find a way of crowbarring my response to that concept into Roken at some point.
Yeah, about that. So I come from a sword fighting background.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So the too large of a sword thing actually really irks me, if I'm honest. Because
but just wait for me.
No. You don't know where I'm going with this, but I figured out a way to resolve it because there's a sort of centaur-like race in our story that comes up in book 2. Yeah. And so I think because they have the body with 6 limbs, a whole horse body behind it, it makes sense physically, kinesthetic, like exactly.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
From a kinesthetic, just science perspective.
Because the arse of the horse could hold the tip of the sword
exactly.
on the shoulder.
Exactly.
You'd have to put a long,
exactly.
leather thing on their back. Yeah.
Because we've talked about this, and we've come up with ideas for characters with different kinds of weapons, and so I think the really over the top, massive weapons, those are wielded by centaur.
Okay.
Nice.
I'm into it.
Good.
Yeah, I saw videos about that also, about how it's just not feasible to actually have a sword that big, and you can't use it in combat, and you won't be able to react quickly with it.
Yeah, but
it looks cool.
Yeah, it looks cool. But that's what your specific sort of fantasy, like Final Fantasy, is. You don't need that. You've already got that suspension of disbelief because of the type of aesthetic it is. I mean, it's a crazy aesthetic, and you can go pretty much anywhere with it, right?
And
so,
I think
exactly.
I think the gun blade, from Final Fantasy. I think that right there is the perfect piece of technology that encapsulates for me the whole spirit of Final Fantasy, which I don't think any franchise has married, archaic fantasy of magic and swords with like science fiction, robots and time loops and aliens and all this bullshit. The way that Final Fantasy puts those two seamlessly together, I don't think anyone's done it better. And from the art that you shared, Elliot, I can tell that that's what you're all about as well.
Yeah, that's one thing that really caught my attention with Final Fantasy was that aspect of like it's like medieval but futuristic at the same time, and it was really cool how they did it. The costumes and all the stuff, and it's really inspirational, and I'm going to try to capture as much as I can from that. I also want to like include other elements to it also, and but yeah, it's really it's been a big influence on my work.
Chris, one day when you're not at work, come on and show us your headcanon, I guess.
Yeah.
But today's all about. Well, it's not all about Elliot because we got D-Wags on the show for the first time.
Yeah, D-Wag is on.
By the way, I'm really excited about this. I don't know if you guys are familiar with D-Wag and the kind of YouTube content that this cat puts out, but this is what Max Headroom and Saturday Morning Cartoons is all about, right here. So when we start doing more pre-recorded sketches, when we start doing more like spoofs and lampooning current events in the CG world and in comic books more generally, you can expect a lot of collaboration between this young man and myself.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So Darren, what's up, dude? How you feeling? What's going on in your world?
I am hurting, guys. Woo, I am tired. I'm exhausted, but want to come on here.
A hell of a drug,
guys. I'm running out of crack. I need to go smoke some here in just a second. But yeah, man.
Hair of the dog.
Yeah, that's actually my problem. I need to go smoke some crack, and I'll be good. But yeah, I don't know if you guys are aware of the Crack Pack. I'm the man behind that, or most responsible for it, bringing that to life. I've been on stream with Ben before. He really it took him a second, but then he realized what I was doing, and man, we had a fucking great stream over there on B Rose's channel. It was really fucking fun.
That was one
of the best streams I've ever done. But yeah, like I've been on the Jack Show and and stuff like that. Like a lot of people don't know that though. But yeah, I did a show called CG News and Reviews with my buddy Steve, and X was on a guy named Good Stuff Comics Gators channel. But yeah, we aren't doing that anymore. We're going to be doing our own thing. It's 80s. It's going to be 80s, 90s, television, commercials and themes. So that's what we're doing. And then I'm also working on a book, but I'm keeping it a little bit secret. So I'm not going to say too much, but it's called Time Crawler. Basically, it's about a little robot boy that can slow down time. And so he's basically like a speedster. But yeah, Bow! What y'all know about that? Oh shit! Damn. Okay.
I can't see it because your green screen.
Oh no!
Is that Final Fantasy?
Oh yeah. Hold on. Let me get a.
I can see it.
All right.
Heck yeah! It is. There it is.
Yeah.
Wow, I haven't played the remake. Is it any good?
You can see it's still in the package. So I started playing it. Man, it was really, really fun. And then just got I got like the first 20 minutes in, and then I didn't get back to it. So yeah, I had rented it or something. So yeah, I just got it for Christmas.
Mate. Life gets in the way of games these days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been really having a hard time like picking back up gaming like here lately, man.
Let's spend the next half hour to 45 minutes just talking about our experience playing Final Fantasy. But I have one more question for you, Darren, before we do that. This Week in CG, is that the name of the show?
What, my show?
Yeah. Well, what was the show you used to do?
CG News and Reviews.
CG News and Reviews. Are you trying to do that same show on your new channel? Is that your plan?
So since it wasn't my channel, there was a couple things I would have changed. You know, if it was up to me.
For the better.
Yes, absolutely. In my opinion, if you guys, it really wasn't about the news. It was like a Matt TV skit type of show or whatever. We do a bunch of silly shit.
That's what we want to do.
Yeah, that is what we want to do.
So, well, and that's what I mean. Like you guys are doing. See, I wanted to make it more 80s, 90s commercial themed and stuff like
a bit of
that's what we want to do.
Synth wave, a bit of what the fuck is it called? Not synth wave. The other wave. Retro wave. Yeah, I love all that. The analog looking stuff.
MTV, Liquid TV.
Yep.
Yeah, man, that's my jam, that mate.
Ooh, yeah.
Just take the piss out of everything that's happening in pop culture, specifically in CG, and give it that 80s retro perspective.
Yeah, it has a really appealing aesthetic for that sort of approach to like skits and videos and stuff like that. I don't know what it is about it, and I think for me, I think it might all stem from Max Headroom, which is why I named the channel that, because he's like the icon of like he was the satire of that era of like presenter and video and all sorts, but they kind of fucked it up in the end. But
you might like this. You might like this because have you heard of the California Raisins?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember the California Raisins.
Nice.
Oh, well, there was actually they actually had a rival gang called the California Crack Rocks that were out. So, yeah, like. Man, so yeah, stuff like that. But yeah, like
parody shit.
Yeah, I'm basically parodying shit is what we do a lot of, you know, like or like what I'm trying to do is like really like the format, man, in my opinion, and from what I've seen of like bringing a creator on and letting him talk about his book for an hour. Like, man, like that's really getting stale now, and people are kind of burnt out of it. You know what I mean? So
agree.
You know, like some people switched it up right now, and what they've been doing is, and this has kind of actually been working, is, you know, to bring somebody on, let them, you know, you guys talk about a topic or whatever for like, you know, 30 minutes, whatever, whoop-de-woo, and then let them talk about their book and then go on. But yeah, because I mean, it's hard to talk about your book for an hour. Like, try that, you know what I mean? Like,
it is, you know? and it's hard. It's hard to squeeze in the sort of stuff that I think this is the frustration I've been having. Is it's hard to squeeze in the sort of stuff that we talk about making into this show and not make them separate without I suppose pre-recording the show and then editing the show and then putting it out that way. But I'm not sure how long that would take, depending on what extra content you put in, especially if someone's coming out with a new book. You want to get it out quite quick. Does that make sense?
When you're promoting a book, you want to do it live.
Yeah,
that I think we can all agree.
I'd love to incorporate other things in it though.
Well, the thing is, like, I think we can do two different things. One thing is live streaming, which is like the live promotion, because a lot of people, like, once Elliot's book is on Indiegogo, once Darren's books is on Indiegogo, you'll find that, like, while you're streaming, that's when motherfuckers actually like back your book. You know,
for sure.
People get excited about it and they click the button on the Indiegogo during live streams. That's been my experience for Rokon. Most of our backers do it during live streams. But the pre-recorded sketches, fucking lampoons, parodies, all that shit, we could make that as commercials and then publish them on the YouTube pages, you know? And then have a sticker at the end of it.
Is that your approach, Darren?
What'd you say, buddy?
Is that your approach? Yeah. Is that
so what we did was we did do a live stream, and basically the best way to classify it really was a hype show. Right. You know, like usually if you see me on here, I'm screaming, I'm yelling, what up, Chris Oury, what up, baby, what up, Nika Tronis, my homie, what up, you know, and I would and we also had a pretty big audience too, like we got slept on a lot. Like, I mean, we'd get 50, 60, 70 people in there at a time, like whatever, and then we'd have more people than that would show up through the show. But yeah, we had a pretty long retain, like the when people came, they stayed the whole show too. I do think there was some dry elements of the skits and stuff, but like, yeah, we basically what we would do is we would do a skit, then like, you know, I would segue for like 5 minutes. We'd talk about some stuff. I'd bring up another project, a book, talk about, you know, like for instance, like Elliot, like that's how I met Elliot, was on Twitter, and I just was retweeting his stuff, man, because I was like, oh yeah, this guy's cool as hell, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. And yeah, like also Twitter, man. I got 2,000 views on a little 20-second clip that I posted for, you know, promoting my new show and get people to subscribe to me.
In the dumpster, that thing was classic. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. I mean, and I've reused that too. Like we're kind of saving it up. Like one thing we're doing is we're taking the Blues Brothers. Me and my buddy Steve, we're taking the Blues Brothers 1980s, where they're driving around and they got the megaphone on top of their car and they're trying to promote their show and they're driving around. Blues Brothers, Live Patrol, $2. You there on the bike? You know what I mean? And then like they're driving through the woods. You know what I mean? Like talking to nobody. So yeah, it's real funny. So we're gonna try to we're gonna just mix that up. That's just one
mix
thing.
That up, and then at the end of it, it's like Time Crawler live on Indiegogo, you know? Live on Indiegogo, you know what I mean? And then boom, people click on it.
Yep. One thing I've noticed, man, and sorry I'm so tired. I'm really not, showing it, but like I really have a projected voice. You know what I mean? Like I have a really good voice. A lot of people in this space that I've met, man, because I'm a total normie. And then I came here and dude, I just kind of fell in love with this. You know what I mean? Like whatever. I was a sports ball player, so like whatever. But yeah, basically I fell in love with this community, man. There's a lot of people, a lot of great people with great projects, man. They just don't have the voice to get it out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
shy on streams or uncomfortable.
It's not good enough that you've just got a decent project now. You've got to have your own platform, or you've got to be able to shout loud, or you've got to be good at getting other people to do it for you. You've got to do one of those.
See, Max and I have the advantage that we're not shy at all, and we're also really clever and really funny. But
a lot. My name's Ben.
Or humble. We're not humble either.
No, we're not. Fuck being humble. So but like a lot of people, like Elliot was nervous before even coming on today. I don't know why. He's got fantastic art. He knows what the fuck he's talking about, but he was nervous. A lot of people are, and I think like with Darren doing his thing and with us doing our thing, this is the perfect vehicle for even shy motherfuckers to come on and know that they're gonna have an audience, know that it's a show, that it's not just interviewing people and showing their Indiegogo. It's a lot more clever. It's a lot more thought that goes into it. So yeah, we'll talk later, Darren. We'll figure some shit out. There's a lot of stuff Max and I have coming down the pipe. I'm healthy.
What's your new channel called, man?
By the way, because I've been sick
just
for
my
a
name.
long time.
Just D-Wag.
Yeah. No, it's Darren Waggonner. I'll put it in the chat. But
it's an abbreviation of his first and last name.
Yeah, D-Wag is Darren Waggoner. So yeah.
So yeah, we're all on the same page. We're gonna do great things together. Let's talk Final Fantasy.
Okay. Who wants to start, man? This is.
I'll start because I know
where it started.
I know
because I know the least.
Yeah, so it will be about 13 seconds. So I which Final Fantasy is the one with the gunblade? Is that 8 or 9? 8. Is that the one that everyone thinks is shit?
Or wait, 13 doesn't 13 have it too?
I don't know. Mine was like when was I playing it? I was playing it in like 2000, so it would have been the first one. The first one.
Okay.
Is that the one that got a lot of flack? Didn't everybody have an issue with that because they changed the character proportions?
Yeah. This is the one with the gun blades, man. But yeah, I don't remember that. I'm a lot younger than most people in here, but I think Ari's got me beat on that though. But I'm 34.
I remember when I've played only as far as 10. So I played 7, 8, 9, and 10. And I remember back in those days when 8 came out.
He says, as if 7 was the first Final Fantasy.
It was the first one for me, and it was the first one that came out on PlayStation back in those days. But I know about it. It's been out since on Super Nintendo and Nintendo and stuff. But yeah, when 8 came out of that series, out of 7, 8, and 9 and 10, 8 was the one that people weren't really digging too much.
Yeah, well, that was the only one I played. Yeah,
I
I
liked
liked it.
Yeah.
I liked the Gunblades, and I think I like the design of the characters better. Like, I didn't even realize, like, looking back, till after I'd finished it, that they changed the character designs. They were kind of dumpy in the originals, right? They look more cartoony. I think
that was just a technology, issue. Because like the first version of Final Fantasy VII, that it was really ambitious of them to try to have like 3D game rendering. Because before that, it was like all the, I don't know if you've played Nintendo and Sega Genesis, Mega Drive, and Super Nintendo RPGs. You're walking around like this, your little square, and then the battles are 2-dimensional. So they were trying to have 3-dimensional gameplay, but the technology to make characters that looked realistic just wasn't there yet.
Yeah, for sure. But no, I was into it, man.
Yeah. Right, I've got a question for the whole panel.
Go, motherfucker.
What is Final Fantasy?
Kick Arden. Kick Arden.
Right, here's what I gathered from my week of like semi-research on Final Fantasy. Every game to me seems like it's a totally different plot, totally different characters, and I cannot work out what the connection is.
There's no connection. The connection is fantasy, and
the
Final Fantasy, and then the next one is also a Final Fantasy.
Next one.
Yeah.
Where does the final?
They're made by the same people. Is the
yeah? There's the main guy usually looks
similar.
Yeah.
So here's how I think.
Big guy.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with Michael Moorcock at all. The Eternal Champion. This motherfucker that's like the embodiment of war, the god of warfare. That he always pops up in different universes in different time periods whenever he's needed, right? So like the main character in Final Fantasy, what they all have in common is that it's a group of heroes that come together to save the world, right? Sure. A lot of times the main characters, even though they have different names, they come from different families, they're in different universes, a lot of times they have similar hair and the same fucking generic handsome face, right? Yeah. So it's like a new iteration, but it's the same fucking thing. It's a hero with his cool hair and his friends saving the world, right? But it's all different times. It's all different times.
There's some characters in all of the series that are reoccurring. Like for example, Chocobos. There's some dragons. Bahamut is a character that appears in all of them.
Right. Bahamut looks different in every game.
You can sort of summon creatures and stuff to help you fight, and they're like they run through the game a lot.
Some characters. Yeah.
I hope that answers your question, Aria.
Aria's
no, but okay.
You fuck.
Summoning's a big part of the Rokon magic system.
Nice.
I don't know.
Bit like Pokemon.
Just like wait for a follow-up.
What were you thinking then, boy?
Yeah, it's well, the way I would define it would be it's a RPG. It's a role-playing game set in the fantasy world with characters trying to save the world, and each series is a different one. But yeah, like Ben was saying, it's role playing, yes, and it's a role playing game, and like Ben was saying, what they have in common is they're trying to save the world, and that's and it blends science fiction with fantasy elements like dragons and wizards and monsters and stuff like that.
So I feel like you can divide all the Final Fantasy games into two categories. There's the old school Final Fantasy, which is more just like old school RPG. There's a lot of games like that. Chrono Trigger, Shining Force. It's 2D sprites when you got your fighters. It's basically like Dungeons and Dragons, but a video game.
Yeah.
You got your mages, you got your wizards, you got your fighters, you got your knights, and you have this crew, and you have to defeat the enemy using this crew. And basically those games follow the same format as a lot of other games from that time, but in my opinion, aesthetically and artistically, they do a little bit better job. And that's super important for me because I'm all about art and aesthetics. And then you got your modern Final Fantasy games, like all the new ones, anything 10 and above, also Final Fantasy 7 and 8, which is just like super realistic looking anime 3D anime gameplay weirdness. And I got to be honest with you, I'm not super into that. Like me personally, you got your guys with the haircuts, and they all just look like anime people. And I don't know, that's cool, but it's not my favorite. They look like Virtual Fighter, honestly, or like
Ben. What I'm hearing is that you don't like big digital anime titties.
It's not my go-to.
What's wrong with you?
I'm asexual.
Conjecture.
Order. Conjecture.
And there's what I think is the greatest Final Fantasy game in the whole franchise is 9, which is sort of like a bridge because it's right after 7 and 8. So it's got the 3D rendering, the 3D gameplay down, but it's like because like 9 is like a purposeful retro, like callback to Final Fantasy 1 and 2 kind of aesthetic. So you have like the same kind of character classes, the same kind of art style. The Black Mage. This guy comes back.
Yeah, the little Orko dude. I remember him. Yeah, I remember people about that one. Yeah, so, it was a bit like Orko. He looks like a cross between Orko and a fucking Jawa. What do you mean?
He looks like Rokan is what he looks.
It's such a great design for that character.
He's going to cast some magic and then also sell you some junk parts at a really great price.
Yeah. So, if he took steroids, he'd look like Rokan.
So now I'm gonna reveal some secrets about Rokan.
Shit!
Check this shit out.
He's gay.
He's gay.
Yes. What's up? Let's go.
Very close with Dumbledore.
The first Final Fantasy game came out in 1987, which was when I was born. But when I was in high school, me and my friends, we were on this kick of like playing super old Nintendo games. We had, Raspberry Pis was a thing back then. Emulators was a thing back then. There was a lot of like cats doing like web comics and stuff using the sprites and fucking with them. So we were all really aware of this, and I played the first ever Final Fantasy game, and we would always talk about like if we played Dungeons and Dragons, who would be who and what's what. And I could never make up my mind whether I wanted to be the fighter guy or the mage guy, and I liked both of them. And my friends were always insisting. They're like, that doesn't make any fucking sense, Ben. You can't be a fighter with a sword and have a wizard hat and be mysterious. And I was like, yes, I fucking can, and I'm going to show you. And that was the birth of Rokan, basically. So check out this clip.
There's a clip play. What's going on?
So basically what you've got there is the two like main characters. There's a lot of playable characters in Final Fantasy IX, but like the two most important characters are those, Zidane and Vivi. I got my Vivi plushie right here. And so Zidane is basically like the reimagined version of the fighter or warrior, whatever, depending on what country you're from Final Fantasy I. And then Vivi is the reimagined version of the Black Mage from Final Fantasy I. So basically the story creators and character designers for Final Fantasy IX took those original like archetypes of the fighter and the Black Mage and created more fleshed out stories and characters behind those concepts, and that became Zidane, which is the blonde guy you saw, and Vivi. And so I liked Final Fantasy 1 and I really liked Final Fantasy 9, but like I said, I always thought, like, why choose? These are such cool concepts of using magic, nobody seeing your face, you know, because like the point of Vivi is like this is supposed to be like in shadow, hid behind underneath his cloak. But then Max and I came up with the idea of the mask, like a Spawn kind of or Venom kind of mask that comes over Rokon when he's in uniform, as it were.
Rokon just turns into Tom Hardy.
Exactly. And so the idea behind that originally came from Vivi, to be honest with you. So the character of Rokon and the whole concept of combining the magician with the warrior, with the fighter, was because I wanted to be both of these classes whenever I played these role-playing games. So there's my thing.
Nice.
Oh my god.
So yeah, so that's how Final Fantasy inspired me.
Final Fantasy was the first video game for me, specifically Final Fantasy VII, was the first time in my life that I was ever emotionally invested in a story like that. You know, like I was always into movies and stuff growing up, and obviously I was playing Final Fantasy as a pretty young kid, but nothing had grabbed me the way that Final Fantasy VII did. And I remember one scene specifically that
Which one?
I'll tell you. So
hurry up.
You know, you're playing through the game, you're fighting Sephiroth or whatever for one of the first times. And, you know, there's like a quiet moment where it's fucking Aerith and Cloud are talking or whatever. And Sephiroth comes down and he just fucking fillets Aerith. And I was devastated. I was fucking devastated. And like the whole death scene. Quick
spoiler alert.
Dead bodies float, by the way. So when you put her in the water and she sank, she was technically, you know, if you're going off of what might be real, she was still alive. But whatever, that's conjecture. But that stuck with me like really hard. And my friends that I was playing the game with were like, "Yeah, cool, whatever. Let's go jump on the trampoline." I was like, "I'm going through grief right now. Are you fucking kidding me?" Like, look,
in the corner.
She died. She's dead. And they're like, "Yeah, whatever." Like, I didn't understand how they weren't as invested in it as I was.
Because
that was a really pivotal point, and that's when I started really taking video games as a storytelling platform seriously, because I understood now like how invested you get playing a character and like bonding with the characters in the game through your avatar, and then like their death actually fucking mattering to you.
Yeah, man, it's like a staple now, isn't it? You look for good storytelling like that in games now. There was a point where he just didn't care. I think even I welled up at the end of Red Dead 2 when the main character bites it. I was like, oh my god! And before that, when his horse goes as well, I wanted to shoot myself in the face.
Yeah, I think that moment fucked me up for a long time, because I'll do shit like fucking, you know, like in Fallout, if you're fucking like, I have a partner walking with me and they die, I'll be like, nope, fuck that. I'm going back to a previous state and I'm bringing them back, because I'm not going to deal with them dying. I'm not doing that shit. We've been through too much, and I have the ability to go back in time, so that's what I'm going to fucking do.
It's fascinating how something like that can play on, like, something that you know isn't real can play on your emotions, that you'll go back and do that.
But that's why you engage in it. Like, if you don't engage in in-depth storytelling like that. You don't read comic books and play video games and watch these movies and shows because you don't give a fuck. You do it because it projects that emotion into you, and that's what you want to experience.
For sure.
Yeah, I remember. I remember speaking on that, on what Nick says. I remember that when I was playing Final Fantasy VII, I was playing it with a group of friends, and they had gotten further into the game than I did, and they were telling me, "Oh, hey man, you better watch out because there's a part where Aerith dies." I was like, "Nah, man, you tripping? Nah, you lying? That doesn't happen. How are they going to kill a main character off like that?" And I got to it, and I was like, "Oh man." For me, it was like, oh man, shit just got real. I'm about to get this guy.
Emotional damage.
I'm going to avenge her death.
Damage.
That shit started for me in like 1985. I think the first time I cried at a main
was that when you got
dying was Optimus Prime. No man, it was fucking Optimus Prime. They killed him. They killed him so they could sell more toys.
Listen,
of new
you were
Transformers.
38 by
that was
then, dude.
shit.
You could have gotten over that.
Nick, is this what you were
I
talking
will never
about?
get over it.
Is that what
Yes.
Man, I wasn't even prepared to see that again.
Devastation, my man.
So
Like,
in the
I was
future,
never the
you can
same.
let me
I
know.
still remember that.
In the future, you can let me know before the show what scenes to clip. I'm just
told
that
you
good
last
to
week.
where
I
to
told
where
you
I
last
clip
week.
that shit on mute
Aria,
and then added it
back
to the
me up.
stream
I talked
while
about
y'all
this
were
last
talking.
week after the show, right?
Yeah, but you got to DM me videos
True.
and minute and second times to clip. Anyways,
Ben, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that.
fine, but then I'm just gonna clip it during the show and be
It was
be
flawless.
nice like that.
That was impeccable delivery.
Thanks.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, that part really messed me up too, man. I was like, man, I can't believe they just killed off a main character like that. I was like, that to me, like that had never happened. And then I also thought I had this idea in the back of my head, like there's probably going to be a point in the story where she's going to come back, you know, because she's going to come back. Normally they do that kind of thing. Did you hear that?
Interrupt this broadcast.
Man, my bad. Was that me?
Damn.
Yeah,
no,
that
was it?
I had no idea what that was.
Wasn't there 6 of us a second ago? Who's missing?
Oh,
it was
Aria.
Aria.
Aria
I think it was Aria.
knocked out.
Aria's just been erased from existence, and that
But
was
Aria,
the
you
time
could've
to
just-
continue and fixing
You could
itself.
just mute your microphone, Maria, in the meantime.
Maria.
I know you hate Final Fantasy, but don't sabotage the show,
Damn.
Maria.
Damn.
My bad. I think that was me. My bad.
Oh, was it you, Elliot?
I think it was. I'm not
We're
sure.
taking back everything we said about your artwork now.
Wyatt says
Shit.
Wyatt says could be a dual class fighter mage. Yeah, Wyatt, if I had known that, then I never would have written this story Rokon, and then we wouldn't be here. So, you know, sometimes ignorance plays.
Yeah.
So, Aria, to my recollection, you're a little younger, right? You're like 24, 25?
He's 13.
No, I'm
No,
about
he's
13.
11. No, he's about
Huh?
11. He's 11.
Okay.
I think he's 11.
Nick, and how old are you, buddy?
Me?
Or you don't have to give me. Are you 30s?
Yeah.
You look 30s. Okay. So I'm bringing the. I've got a point. I got a point.
These guys are in their
30s.
I
I'm
look
32.
30s.
Yeah. I'm sorry, man.
Rude.
Sorry. Jesus. I'm sorry. Okay.
Darren's,
yeah,
Darren's
like-
actually a mage in real life. Look at how he's dressed.
Yeah.
He's wearing them stoner jackets from when I was in
Deep
high
age.
school that was popular.
Look, only one of
From-
us is fucking geriatric here, and it's this guy right there.
Fuck you.
Look at it, take his glasses off to say it.
What was that store called?
Fuck you.
Give
It's
her the
only
fucking,
sold.
give her the fucking
The only-
like, over the glasses look.
The only thing that store sold was those sweaters that Darren's wearing right now and Grateful Dead posters. You know what I'm talking about?
Hot
mind.
Topic, Spencer's.
No,
I don't
it was
know.
a different store that was all hippie shit when I used to live in the United States. Doesn't matter. What were you saying, Darren, about who's how old
where I
and
was
what?
going with that, I wanted to ask you guys. Like, so I actually started watching my dad play Final Fantasy. Like, he used to play Shining Force and stuff like that on the Sega, and I would just watch him play. I like, you know, because if you go back, like, you can't remember at that fucking time, like, dude, like those graphics at the time were like groundbreaking and shit.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So I
played the shit out of Shining Force.
Do you guys think either that the graphics had something to do with that? Because, dude, like, everybody was sad about when Aerith died. Everybody that played it. But what do you guys think about the music? Like,
the music was
like,
amazing.
the music was like, like, do you guys think that added to it? Because I really like.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
okay.
I feel like
part of it is all, you know, like you say, because for the time you weren't getting that sort of input, that sort of quality input through a game. That I think, I think you're right. I think it like impacted you like way harsher. I mean, if you were to go back now and play it the way it is, you know, being used to sort of modern games, maybe it wouldn't necessarily have that heft, which is why they went back and like redid they redid Final Fantasy VII, right?
Well, just like the first little bit of it.
Yeah, it's the Midgar scene. But yeah,
right. So I remember playing. I mean, it's not the same thing, but I remember playing a few games like when at the time the music and the graphics were like cutting edge, like Tomb Raider was one of them. But if you go back it now, it's almost unplayable. It's so difficult. Like everything clips. Like you've really got to be on point with like the way that you're facing. But my memory of it was like it was super smooth and it hit really well. And I remember thinking this is one of the greatest things I've ever played. So it's weird, isn't it? It's sort of the way it was made for the time and your sort of sense of nostalgia mixed to make this memory of it. But I don't know what the reality is. But yeah, I'm sure the music had something to do with it. Yeah,
I think the Final Fantasy creative team, like, really was one of the first, like, to really take seriously every aspect of video game playing. Yeah. Because a lot of games before that understood that the game has to be replayable and engaging, and the actual gameplay has to make sense. The engine can't be broken. Like the way that you progress through levels has to make sense. Like that part, they got it down to a science, right? But as far as like the mechanics of a functional video game, but then I feel like Final Fantasy was one of the first to like be like, no. Well, I shouldn't say the music has to be good because obviously, like games like Donkey Kong and like Super Mario and Sonic fucking kill it, and Mega Man kill it with the music, But that game doesn't just have good ass music. It has music that's like a score of playing through this experience like a movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think what you're to
go ahead.
Shoot off what you're saying is those other games that you mentioned. The music is iconic, but it's not engrossing. It doesn't grab you the same way that the music in Final Fantasy does. The music in Final Fantasy is emotional music, like Donkey Kong and Mario and all that stuff. Like, yeah, you're gonna remember it forever, and it's catchy and it's like really well written from a music theory standpoint. But then you go into Final Fantasy, and even just the intro music, the fucking arpeggiated sequence that goes on right there, I still remember it, and it's like it's a very somber type feeling, and it wasn't like other games where you jump in and it's like fucking yeah, super exciting. It was like, yo, you're about to be fucked up for the rest of your life. I hope you're ready.
Boom.
That was a good impression of literally every other game ever. No.
Not that you would know that because you were not even conceived when those games were coming out.
Man,
I could hear it through the womb.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that music was crazy. So I don't know if you guys know this, or maybe I'm just old as fuck or something. But I just realized a few days ago that the soundtrack to Final Fantasy is on Spotify, and that blew my mind also. And then that was actually something that helped me design my character faster because normally when I draw, I have music playing, and I play the music to the final boss to the Sephiroth. Nice. Yeah, that's it right there.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, man. I had the music playing for the final boss fight with Sephiroth in the background while I was drawing my character, and it helped me get through it real quick because that music it's impacting. It's just great. It's really great, and the music is definitely a big part of that of the game.
I definitely think so as well.
The other thing that I really appreciate about Final Fantasy is like the extent of the stories. Like to play through one of these games, especially once you get to the PlayStation era, like these are long games, and like you want to keep going because you're invested in the characters, you're invested in the universe, and those cutscenes are a huge payoff for getting to a certain point in the game, and you want to see where the story progresses. Full disclosure, the only game I fully played through was Final Fantasy Tactics and Final Fantasy IX, and that's because the art style and the story and the characters
is awesome
are just more my preference, right?
It's interesting the style of story that they use as well. It's like a sort of soap opera dynasty sort of style because it just goes off the fucking rails. Like you find out someone's your mum, someone's brother, long lost sister, and mixed with all this other shit. It's like fucking, it's a lot, man. Plus, it had about 3,000 discs, but it worked. It
cool.
worked well.
And like, I don't know who Aerith is, and I don't care why Sephiroth killed her, but I could tell you about like in Final Fantasy IX, the whole like Kuja, who's the bad guy in that. He's basically like it's basically like Blade Runner, because they're these guys that were like genetically engineered to like save the world, but the first one goes rogue and he wants to destroy the world because he's like, okay, so Vivi and these black mages, let me show you them real quick. So they're basically an army that's created. They're like dolls. They're like living dolls. And so that really brings up these existential issues of like the same ones you get from reading Frankenstein's monster. What does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be alive? But they don't live that long, right? And Vivi kind of accepts that and comes to peace with it. But Kuja, who's this genome from the other planet, he figures out he's not going to live that long. And so he decides, like all supervillains do, I'm going to fucking destroy the whole universe, because if I can't die, then nobody gets to die. So like the first arc is these black mages and Vivi figuring out that he's a black mage. And then the second arc is all about Zidane and Kuja. Like, if you know what I'm talking about, you know. If you don't, I sound like a rambling maniac. But like to Max's point and Nick's point too, like the soap opera craziness of like, oh, you're really my brother and you're gonna die and I love you and I hate you and this and that. Like that's nuts. And it's so Japanese in its storytelling, and it's so Eastern in its storytelling, and it just combines so perfectly with like the Western tropes of knights and magic and witchcraft. And I just really appreciate it. Someone else say something.
So, Final Fantasy IX, loved it, man. You're about to be heartbroken for me, Ben. My third disc had a big scratch on it when I was a kid, and I don't think I got to finish it. Or like I think like I would play it when my dad wasn't playing, and I never got to finish it. And then when I went to go back to finish it, or maybe I did, but like see like how you said like the story, like I was just more playing it because it was fun and cool, and you know Steiner and all them people and Queena or whatever, Keena or whatever her name was, she sucked. But yeah, like Vivi. But the problem I had with Vivi is like the jump rope thing in the beginning fucking pissed me off, dude. I fucking sat there for fucking weeks, man, trying to do that jump rope thing as a kid, man, to get the Alexandria card. Because yeah, you had to like it was one of the Easter eggs in the very beginning of the game.
Yeah.
You start off, dun, 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 dun. and then you're in there, and you got to do this jump rope game, and you got to do like what 300 times or something to get this like Alexandria
card.
You
think I did that shit? Like I'm not a completionist, bro. Like I'm way too ADD for that.
Dude,
all the side quests.
Aside to that, like the level of patience that we had as kids to play games was fucking astounding. Not exactly on Final Fantasy, but I went back recently and started playing.
I swear to God, my IQ was lower than it was 15 years ago.
Oh, dude. I went back and started playing Kingdom Hearts again. I forgot. That's a really fucking hard game.
Yeah, it is.
So I remember really enjoying it when I was like 13 or 14, and then I played it as an adult, and I was like, Riku, I ain't got time for this shit, dog. What the fuck? I don't have time to play this boss battle 19 times in a row. Like, I just don't have the patience for it anymore.
Like your complex reasoning skill and problem solving skills, they were higher then than they are now.
It was an attrition rate in my mind that was much.
But you've got room in your conscious mind to solve the puzzles, because it's like you've got what have you got going on as a kid? You've got going on. So this thing's like the thing, man, and like you're gonna do that, and you're gonna get past the boss, and then you're gonna go to school with your mates, and you're gonna tell them all about it. And now.
Like,
not necessarily.
I'm trying to fucking fight Riku, and I'm like, man, I gotta go get my W2 ready, bro. It's tax season, guy. I don't have fucking time for this.
Well, the other thing too is like back then, hanging out in real life with your mates was a lot more doable. You know what I mean? And so like completing even games that weren't multiplayer was still like an event because like you guys can probably relate to this. There was the one motherfucker that was really good at whatever particular game, and so you would want to be at his house when he beat the final boss or when he did whatever, you know. And so you would all hang out, and that was like an event, you know. And you would even save it. It's like, I'm gonna fight the final boss. When can y'all come over? You know what I mean? It was that kind of thing. Like now you just do it from your house and live stream it or something, and everyone would watch it from wherever they live. And that's cool too because that's how we all can interact with each other. But I miss going to my friend's house to play video games. Like that was.
Don't forget the memory card.
Ben, you come over whenever you want.
Yeah, I'm gonna come over, Nick.
We'll get Resident Evil 1. We'll get some pizza, bro. Crush it.
Yeah, make sure you both wear cute pajamas.
Right, Aria, let's meet up and
we'll film it.
Well,
Most people go for that. Be careful.
Me and Nick in our pajamas, and we'll play a video game together, and we'll film it, and then you do the same. Max and Aria.
Yeah, we'll have to play each other. You two versus us. On
well, Ben, the funny thing about pajamas is that I sleep naked, so.
Okay. So we'll just
try not to molest Aria.
We'll just put a blanket over your private parts for the parts that we film. When we're done filming, you take the blanket off. Whatever happens, happens.
Yeah. As long as you film it.
Sounds like a good Saturday.
Or we can just blur
how I
it.
remember it.
That's all.
How about this for a Final Fantasy?
So when it comes to that, because you brought up a good point, Ben. I haven't ever thought of this, but like you said, you would go play with your friend or see like him beat the big boss and stuff. That was my dad, in my circumstance, and I don't want to be. My dad was a messed up individual. Like he was like a legit like sociopath. Like,
okay, but he would play video games with you, so there's that.
Well,
yeah, that's a great memory.
Yeah, that one's all bad, right?
Before he passed away after 9. And then 10 was the first game I played. I played it like it meant so much to me. But yeah, like with that being said too, no, I'm not. This is 20 years ago, so don't worry about it. But yeah, like yeah, man, dude. So that's why Final Fantasy meant so much to me because like that was actually like when he was playing the game, like that's when he was.
Because it literally killed your dad. Like he was trying to beat the game and he couldn't beat it, and that's. He
stole. He probably actually I would guess he probably stole it. But he went and he had all the guides for the whatever. No, like my dad was legit a sociopath. He'd be like, hey, go and whatever, and he'd go up and hit somebody and like knock their teeth. Like he was fucked up individual. Not towards me or anything, but like, yeah. He I think he realized like being a sociopath was like not the way you want to be. And he taught me to be the opposite. He said, would always tell me, don't be like me. Don't be like me. But yeah, like that dude, like before he passed away, like these games, dude, meant so much to me because, like, yeah, it was like he would, come pick me up and shit. So yeah, like that shit meant a lot. But like nowadays, like video games, and then I'm going with the friend stuff too. Like, like nowadays, like video games, you can play online. Like, you're gonna get your headset in. Me and Ellie are gonna hop on COD. You know what I mean? We're gonna try to shit on some randoms or something. But like, there's no like, it's totally different playing a game like when your buddy's there with you.
Yeah,
like. And then, like, like, man, dude, it's just that time of gaming, dude. I don't know if it's just like shit's just, have we gotten desensitized to it or like,
no, like, just as the social media thing has come in, it's just infiltrated most forms of personal social interaction and gaming back then with your mate was like, it was based on you sitting next to your mate and having a laugh while you're beating the shit out of each other on, I don't know, Street Fighter or something. And yeah, like you're removed. You're totally removed. It's the same thing, but you're doing it in two separate houses, looking at each other through a little window.
Exactly.
You can barely hear each other through. That personal interaction isn't. It's not fully realized.
Now that you mention it, I think it was Final Fantasy. It was either 11 or 12. But one of the Final Fantasy games was the first one to ever allow, like, not just like distance playing together, but like cross console. So like, you could be on one console and the other. Yeah, you could be like on a different console.
Was that the 360? Was that the Xbox?
I know you're right on that because I heard that in one of the YouTube documentaries I watched on Final Fantasy. I got that down.
But at least you did a mild amount of research. Most of the time, I run into the show and I have no fucking idea what's going on.
That's true.
I watched like a 3-hour description of Final Fantasy on like 1.5 speed.
Well,
so
that wasn't mandatory, Arya. I mean, you know, just you don't have to do that. It's okay.
He's still in school, and you're a teacher. Of course, he thought it was mandatory.
Yeah.
I'm a nerd. I'm not going to not do the homework.
Yeah.
I'm such a nerd.
But like, there's all these moments in time when the way people interact with video games is sort of contingent on the culture and technology of the time. And the amazing thing about Final Fantasy is that it spanned so many years and decades that it's been to the point, you know, me going to my friend's house just to play video games, to the point where you could play video games online with people all over the world, cross console. And Final Fantasy has been on the cutting edge of all of those different iterations of video game play. That's pretty impressive.
Yep. Yeah, to varying degrees. It gets harder to I imagine to push that envelope, like the more the technology develops. I mean, what's next apart from just consistently growing the world, or making the graphics better, or having a decent story.
The Black Mirror level fucking VR.
That's what I'm saying. It's VR, and VR's next, and then something. Yeah, then just reconnecting your entire face into Final Fantasy.
What's next is comic books that integrate that whole world building and magic system and combat, so you can be as nerdy as these guys that play Dungeons and Dragons and Warhammer and Warcraft and Final Fantasy, and we're going to give you that much of a world to jump into. You know, Arya's already ahead of us a little bit, getting the Keshi figures in. We're going to make figures for Rokon that you can use to play tabletop games, to play role-playing games. You know what I mean? Like what we saw of Zadok and Elliot's book, like obviously that's incorporating the same kind of massive world-building elements. So like I feel like we're literally on the cutting edge of the next big thing in nerd culture, which is going to be these comic books that take the characters and take the world so seriously. You know, I think it's honestly unprecedented, and I think everyone on this panel is representative of that new movement, and we're some of the first ones to do it. So.
The conjecture panel. Conjecture.
So with that being said, we've been going for pretty long. We shouldn't go too much longer, but I do wanna bring it full circle. So Elliot, I'm gonna ask you, one more time. All these things that we've discussed, about the storytelling, the combination of fantasy, sci-fi elements, your experience of playing these video games. Tell us one more time about your book, your story, and how these things have kind of pushed you to create the world that you imagine.
Yeah, it's a very big influence. It has a direct influence on it, and my comic is it's about a farmer boy that's set in like the world of a Final Fantasy-esque type reality, and he goes on this adventure, and it's a coming of age story where he's doing just something, typical everyday thing that transforms into this big adventure that he goes on with some other characters. And yeah, the design element of my characters and the stories and the places that you're going to see in the comic are very reminiscent to what you'll see or to what you've seen in Final Fantasy games. One of my biggest challenges is going to be trying to capture the epic story settings and sceneries that you see in those games on the page, and it's something that I welcome, and I look forward to getting the chance to be able to draw those kinds of backgrounds and put characters in it. But yeah, the story is very fantasy oriented, mixed with sci-fi elements into it, and it's a world where anything can happen. And
I love it, dude. I
and
love
that's
it.
what
That's what
that's
I'm
what I'm
all
going for.
about.
That's
That's
fucking
fucking
awesome,
cool.
mate. When you get stuff done, man, you get yourself a campaign, come back on here and we'll push it for you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely. Yeah. Thank you very much for having me on the show and for
Hey, man, it's our
letting me
pleasure.
talk about
Thank
this
you
topic. It's great.
And I
Thank you for
definitely,
coming on.
I definitely think that Max is gonna do a fantastic job with that Deathmonger. Maybe a trading card, maybe a variant cover. We'll figure
Yeah, I'm not
something
into
out. But
Deathmonger,
that
no.
character is
Yeah.
super in Max's.
Dude, we got to link him up with Graphite so we can make a fucking action figure.
Exactly. We're
Nice.
gonna have action figures of all these motherfuckers.
Yeah,
all
that'd be
the-
great. Yeah.
And then we'll come up with. I've been thinking about, and I'm not gonna get too into this, but I've been thinking about making a game, like figuring out a game, like a tabletop or a board game, role playing game, to where we can have our different characters interact with each other in the game. But we'll talk more about that when I figure things out a little bit more. Since I've got you guys here, Darren, Elliot, Nick, you actually played this game. So what the fuck is this?
Well, that was actually taken from a photo of Max in college in 1934.
I was doing that.
What is that?
You
That's
can't
the
say-
Oscars?
I thought that was the gold saucer at first, but then it just transformed into something else.
Who is
I
that?
have no
dude?
idea.
It's like
You
a
got me, man.
luchador mixed with an Oscar. That's from Final Fantasy VII. So you
That's from Final Fantasy VII?
I have no idea
No
what that
way.
is.
You've all got memory wipe of the game.
Oh, I
shit that
didn't
was in
make
Final
it.
Fantasy
I didn't
wait,
fucking draw that shit. I didn't.
But
Sure, that's
man,
not
there's
from
a lot of
8?
childhood trauma that I don't remember, and that's probably
Yeah.
in that bank.
I mean, unless the guy whose YouTube video I downloaded and cut up got it wrong, but it said Final Fantasy VII. So
That might have
I
been a
have no
different
idea what that
fantasy,
is.
bro.
Yeah.
Definitely someone's Final Fantasy.
did you guys ever play Final Fantasy Tactics? Look at this.
Yeah. Man.
So that was basically like a Catholic priest revealing that he's a child molester, and the protagonist just going in and murking him. And
Nice.
see, that's what I
Man.
love about these fantasy stories, is that you can just go
They
And
contain
solve
every type
problems.
of
And
fantasy.
solve problems. Yeah.
and just fucking take it into your own hands and sort it out. And because that's so frustrating in this modern complex world of evil and intrigue. You can't just go to the White House and stare down Joe Biden and force him to reveal his demonic real image.
He
and
wouldn't even realize if you
then
were.
kill him. You know what I mean? But that's the thing. Like, he's obviously a
It'd just
puppet.
be like that.
So if Joe Biden was a character in Final Fantasy, you would beat him up,
What would you say to
He'd
Joe
be the
Biden right
villain.
now?
and then this gem
What's up,
would
baby?
elevate out of his body, and then he would reveal his real demon form, his lizard person form, to the world.
If only
You
it were
should
that
really
easy.
redo the thumbnail for this episode, and it's Biden, but he's got that crazy anime hair.
Okay, yeah, done. I'll do it in a minute.
No,
I know about roaches.
but like
Oh.
you know what I'm saying? You get the point that I'm making. Like you've got child molesters in the White House. You've got child molesters in the Vatican. You've got evil dudes destroying the world,
And you can't
And-
kill them
And
with a
that's
sword.
final
and you
bullshit.
can't kill them with a sword, right? Only
Yeah,
in
it's
Well,
not
that's
Final
what
fair.
these
Fantasy.
games do. They
not fair.
provide us with that sense of justice that we wish we could enact in the real world.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nick, for
Yeah.
intelligently articulating my mindless ramble. You've done that like 5 times today, and I really appreciate it.
Right. Are we
So,
done?
yeah, I think we're done here.
Thank you for everyone that came on today. And hail chat, by the
Thank
way.
you. Hail chat. Yeah. Hail to the chat. Thank you very much.
So be on the lookout for Zadok. Be on the lookout for Time Crawlers. You guys are welcome to come back on the show anytime you want.
Yeah, anytime, man.
Yeah, I'm pumped to hear more about Time Crawler, man.
Cool. Yeah, man. Normally I'm much more energetic, got more to say and shit, but yeah, like
I couldn't.
Sorry, guys.
Oh man, don't worry about it. Yeah, it was. We're glad that you came on, D-Wag. You were
much more
as fuck,
energetic
dude.
than this normally. Are you like a walking advert for?
Oh,
alcohol?
dude, it's man, what, dude? It's I'm crazy. Like I was on. I did a stream on
high
Red
energy.
User. High tea.
High energy.
Like I was jumping in dumpsters, doing Naruto runs outside. I was doing all kinds of shit. John was talking about it on fucking CG Kings. He was like, dude, we had D-Wag out there. He was running the streets of Indianapolis at like 3 a.m. Shit was fucking hilarious. It's like if they look at the cameras, it's like, oh my. But yeah, man. Yeah, like the crew that we're night owls, so we're normally up to like 3, 4, 5 in the morning. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, this isn't the time, but you know, Neek's a homie, Raiden's a homie.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
Next time it'll be the Saturday morning cartoon kids on your channel. Watch out for that.
Okay.
Maybe we'll have to do a spin-off called Saturday Night Cartoons.
Saturday night.
Well, yeah, dude, we can do that. Because we need people in all different spaces, man. Like really, like we need really actually like I hate to use the word diversity because they overuse the SJWs do.
Well, that's why we have Maria.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's why you have me.
It's a definition that counts. Don't worry.
Aria's Mexican. A lot of people don't know that. He's our POC.
Yeah. He's a Welsh. He's a Welxican.
He's Welshican.
I'm Welsh.
You got
Mexican
Welsh.
The only thing he was offended about that was that I'm not Welsh.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
All right, we'll see y'all next week. Thanks, everybody.
Easy,
You guys
man.
be safe. Hail chat. Thank you very much.
As we've just seen, drugs make your problems go away. So make it the best day possible. Remember, it's drugs that counts. Take one and take a chance.
Saturday morning cartoons, mostly conjecture based on little knowledge.